the mayor and the police chief will speak about this new partnership that the department and the city has with a social media platform called Nextdoor, which is based on neighborhoods in the city, some 50-some neighborhoods that have been established and are gradually being populated by people that be able to talk with us, and we can talk with them about public safety issues and the like, and enhance our community policing model that we conduct here in the city. That'll be explained by several gentlemen here that really have hands-on experience with Nextdoor. But the idea to bring it in is a plan for the mayor and the police chief, who will speak first. So, once we're plugged in and ready to go, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Mayor Dwight C. Jones and Police Chief Ray Tarasovic.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. We are here today for one reason, but we wanted to take the opportunity to address something that's very important and on all of our minds. I know that Deputy Chief Drew spoke to you on yesterday about the spate of murders that we've had in the city, and so today I just wanted to take a minute to thank the 722 officers of the Richmond Police Force for the fine job that they do. They're often the first on the scene, and we are also very proud of a very strong closing rate that our police department has for cases in their charge. This weekend we had 3 fatal shootings, which brings to the number of 37 for 2014, and we're the first to say that this is unacceptable. And so we take this opportunity as we talk about this Nextdoor app to say that we've got to work together and to put a stop to these senseless acts of violence. And we want everyone to know that our police investigators are making good progress in solving these crimes. But still, again, I think it's important for me to say, and I'm sure the chief will say as well, that we need the community to help us to rise up against this senseless kind of behavior. If you see something, we want you to say something. We've all got to unite to combat crimes, and in particular, we want to unite in combating these violent crimes. And I can't stress enough the importance of the community's involvement in these efforts, and what we're here today to announce has something to do with that. It's a good tie-in, it's a good segue into what we are trying to get accomplished. And so once again, I can't say it enough. If you see something, we're asking you to call the police at 780-7100. And I implore the residents of Richmond to take a stand, to get involved against criminal activity in our communities. We've seen some mobilization that is encouraging. Some persons from City Council have hosted community conversations. Our faith leaders are involved, and for this we are grateful. The Richmond Behavioral Health Authority is looking for more ways to mount a community response to violence, and we're grateful for this as well. It's going to take everybody using all resources for us to deal with this issue. We want to use every tool, every opportunity, and every collaboration we can to make a difference. And that brings me to this announcement this morning that we've all come to hear about, this new tool that will help improve communication, will help bring communities together so that they feel more comfortable in sharing information with each other and sharing information with the officers in their community. And so we're pleased to announce that the police department has begun using the social media tool called Nextdoor. Nextdoor is a free and private social network for neighborhoods, and it creates stronger, safer neighborhoods by connecting the city and residents to one another. On the Nextdoor site, each neighborhood is a separate group, and they can share information that is important to them, from sharing ideas to sharing information about things that may be of concern to them as it relates to their safety. And so we add this to our toolbox. We have Impact, we have See-Click Fix, and other community engagement opportunities such as the National Night Out, and this becomes another tool that we can use for the comfortability of people who live in our neighborhoods. Richmond already has 50 neighborhoods involved, and many Richmond residents have already signed up for Nextdoor, and we believe that this is going to be an excellent tool, particularly useful to the Richmond Police Department and its 722 officers. And so with that, I'm going to bring up the chief, and then we'll hear more persons who will get down into the weeds about Nextdoor. Chief Tarasovic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. I can only echo the mayor's remarks with regard to the violence that has occurred in the city over the past few days and several weeks. It has been difficult. It has been difficult. It's difficult to go from, first of all, last year's number was 37. We've reached that in homicides today. But that number was difficult at 37 last year. It was difficult at 30. It was difficult at 25. It was difficult at 10. It's difficult because we're talking about not numbers, but people's lives. And so I echo the mayor's remarks, too, with regard to uniquely, not uniquely, but interestingly, of the last 7 that we had, which have occurred since the 7 homicides that have occurred since the 8th of October, 5 of those people were shot and killed inside dwellings. So we talk about police presence and we talk about being out on the streets, but 5 of those 7 were shot inside dwellings, which reemphasizes our need for people to, when they see something, say something. When they see suspicious behavior, say something. When family members are out of sorts and not acting correctly, say something, seek help. It's the only way we can continue in a positive vein. We will be ever vigilant. We will increase. We work now at controlling violence, and our violent crime for the year is the same, right now as we stand here today, is the same at numbers, again, as last year. But these spikes in violent activity cause us all concern. But Nextdoor is a tool, and Nextdoor is a tool that can foster the kind of communication that we need to occur. Our community policing model is about outreach. It's about meeting with folks personally. It's about meeting with folks walking through their neighborhoods, conducting workshops so they can learn how to interact with us. And it's about social media. We have a strong Facebook presence. We have a strong Twitter presence. Nextdoor is truly a next door for us. It's another opening, another entry into the lives of people that we wish to become part of, because they, as they need us, we also need them. And this creates that direct line of communication. This community, the city is not, one size does not fit all in the city of Richmond. The problems in the East End are sometimes different than the problems in the West End, that are sometimes different than the problems on North Side or on the South Side. Specific neighborhoods have specific needs, interests, and problems. Nextdoor involves us in that conversation because our 12 sector lieutenants, the 12 persons that manage the 12 sectors of the city, have the opportunity to interact with their specific neighborhoods. And that is the key to this tool. It's as someone wrote for me here, it is a virtual neighborhood watch. And that's what it is, a virtual neighborhood watch. It's a private network. We will post to the neighborhood groups. You can respond to us or we can respond to you, but those folks in the community are not bound to us. And yet it's an opportunity for them. This is a forum, but I want to emphasize before I close, this is not a forum for emergency communication. The best form of emergency communication is always our communication center at 911. Even to the point when, not only when you're being victimized calling 911, but when you see some activity that needs an immediate police response. 911 remains the strongest tool because we won't be monitoring Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, our Nextdoor accounts every second of every day. We will be, but that 911 operator is available every second of every day. We look forward to using this tool. We think it's going to be a very positive influence on our community interaction and foster the kind of engagement that we need to make Richmond the safest city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Now we'd like to, as the Mayor said, get down in the weeds a little bit about what Nextdoor is all about, how it works, how we're going to interact with the citizens by using it. So I'd like to introduce three gentlemen, actually. We have Joe Porcelli, who is a senior strategist with Nextdoor. He is the one that actually introduced us to the department, to the chief. We have Ames Russell, who's a resident of Richmond, lives in the Tuckahoe Terrace, and he is actually one of the more than 3,000 Nextdoor users who have already signed on to this service in the city. And then Andreas Addison, who is a Richmond civic innovator with the Office of the Chief Administrator. He'll explain a little bit about how it works as well. Gentlemen, come on up, all three of you here. And we'll start with Joe and move on to Ames, and then Andreas is going to bat cleanup for us. Gentlemen.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Porcelli, and I'm a senior city strategist at Nextdoor.com. And on behalf of the entire Nextdoor team, I want to thank Chief Tarasovic, Major Jones, or excuse me, Mayor Jones, my apologies, Andreas Addison, Major Booth, Major Johnson, Gene Lepley, and James Mercanti for bringing Nextdoor to Richmond and for making this announcement possible. Nextdoor is not totally new to Richmond. Over the last 2 years, residents in neighborhoods around Richmond have started over 52 Nextdoor neighborhoods, and they're talking to each other about things that matter most to their communities. Now, members appreciate Nextdoor because before anyone else joins their private Nextdoor neighborhood website, they have to verify their home address. With this added sense of security, neighbors are talking about everyday things like finding a babysitter or a plumber, to more personal things like finding a lost pet or a crime in their neighborhood. Now, at the same time, the Richmond Police Department was looking for an innovative way to keep the state's capital safe. And starting today, with a click of a mouse, they can post information and have conversations with residents in one, some, or all neighborhoods in Richmond. With this launch, the Richmond Police Department is combining the power of technology and neighbors to build stronger and safer neighborhoods. And they're the first police department in the greater Richmond area to use Nextdoor. I want to congratulate Chief Tarasovic and Major wow, pardon me, sir. Mayor Jones for their progressive leadership and for bringing Nextdoor to Richmond. They share the same commitment that Nextdoor has to bringing back the sense of community to the neighborhoods. Now, none of this would have been possible without great neighbors who first introduced Nextdoor to Richmond. And I'd like to introduce one of them, Mr. Ames. Thank you, Ames Russell from Nextdoor Tuckahoe Terrace. Ames?
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here, and thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Chief, as well as everybody else has made this possible. I'm the president of the Tuckahoe Terrace Civic Association, which is a neighborhood of 196 households on the south from Cary to the north on Grove, and then from Tuckahoe Boulevard to Granite Avenue. And when I became president, I was looking for a more dynamic and interactive medium for our neighborhood to communicate and collaborate beyond the traditional method of email. Something in the social media, something like social media. I happened to read at that time an article in the Wall Street Journal about Nextdoor, and to me it made perfect sense. I did some research and decided that it was really the best thing for us to use. So we have about 72% of the residents in our neighborhood signed on to Nextdoor. But in addition to doing that, reaching out to our association members and getting them to sign on, I also reached out to other adjacent neighborhoods and associations so that we could join together to not only share information, but also collaborate about issues that are important to us in that particular neighborhood. And I'm happy to say that a good number of those neighbors have now come on in our larger network. We've had, like I said, we've had a lot of success. 72% are participating. And there's a range of issues that get discussed: lost dogs, items for sale, recommendations for tradespeople. But by and large, the number one issue that people want to know about and hear about are crimes that happen in the neighborhood. And part of the sharing the crimes, the back end of that, is communicating out strategies for deterrence. And so that's been really effective for people, and they appreciate that. There's been some frustration recently. We've had a spate of crimes over the summer. There's been some frustration that with all this reporting and all this activity, we're not really sure what's being done on the city's part or the police's part. And one of the probably the biggest things I did was tell people if you've had crime occur, to report it. It's really important because it's important for the police to be able to take that information and connect the dots. This collaboration between the city and the police department and Nextdoor takes it to another level where the city can actually communicate directly out to people. Not only for all the good information that you could provide, but at least to provide to the neighbors that to assure them that you all are on it and you're with us, and together we can go forward and do some good things. So I look forward to seeing where we go from here, and I expect great things. But thank you so much for having me.
So as I have the dubious duty of being cleanup, or as some people have referred to, the Zamboni, I kind of want to explain a little bit about how this kind of partnership came about. About a couple years ago, we're working with police department, which has been just at the forefront of social media engagement and utilizing technology to be informative, engaging, and communicative with all of our people that live in our city. And with that, they're always looking at ways in which to learn new trades and learn new ways of engaging our constituents. And through that, as you've heard before, Nextdoor has come up as an option of this really interesting, unique way of doing Facebook, but more instead of it being to all of your friends, it's just those who live around you. I think there's a unique opportunity with the way that Nextdoor operates in terms of it's neighbor-neighbor. It's addresses connecting to your addresses around you, and you get to really engage each other with things that really matter about where you live. And I think that's kind of exactly the parallel with community policing that was really been communicated from the police chief for the past couple of years. And I think with that, we want to find a way in which we can really communicate that way. Social media, with Twitter and Facebook, it goes out to everybody. But with Nextdoor, it's just people who want to talk to. It's people that matter about this specific area of something happening. It could be something as small as a hit and run, an unsafe intersection with covered limbs over a stop sign, to bicycle safety issues, to things that are just simple like doing a fun block party or doing something in terms of a neighborhood cleanup. These are ways for neighbors to communicate to each other needs that they have with each other. And this is the way for the police department to also partner with that and to communicate things that are more pressing. I know there's always an issue with people that work every day from 8 to 5 o'clock. They may not see their police officer drive by their house every day. They might not have a contact point where they know who their community policing officer is. Nextdoor creates an avenue for that communication to happen, that introduction to happen, to see kind of what's going on in their neighborhood, to know what and how much you're there for. Nextdoor provides a great tool for which the police department can really leverage the work that they do every day in a way that's going to be real supportive and engaging to really building up what our city is all about, which is connectivity, community, and awesome ways of doing events and communication with each other. Now, one of the things I think is a great aspect too is we're really adapting to the new technology offers that are coming up, but in ways that matter to the most of realizing what the community needs. Nextdoor really is only an option because it's already been adopted by over 3,500 users in Richmond already. There's no work being done in terms of branding this or pitching this out. This is word of mouth. This is the Richmond community coming together using a platform to want to talk to each other. And there became a critical mass of understanding how Ames mentioned earlier that this became a tool that was really activated and used through the neighborhood associations. I think there's a great value in seeing this roll out through the entire city. I think the formal announcement with the city, with the Richmond Police Department working together with Nextdoor, we're going to see that number increase a lot. And I think the more people that talk to each other in the neighborhoods, the more communication they have with their neighbors and the other communities across the city, you're going to find that we're going to find a lot of other ways in which we're going to improve our city as a whole, identify needs, tackle challenges, but also have ways in which we can come together and unify with things, events like the National Day Out, or other ways we can do some policing aspects of that nature too. So this platform, I think, is a great conversation that's going to lead forward in new ways that we're going to be trailblazing ourselves. I know Nextdoor is excited to see where we take this, and I know that we have a community of people such as Ames that are all across our city that use Nextdoor currently that are going to really appreciate the fact that you all will be using this platform as well. So I look forward to seeing where we go with this. I'm excited to see kind of how we can adapt this for other social media and engagement practices, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we roll this out and moving forward. So thank you. Are there any questions?
Actually,
Oh, yes.
Joe, can you show us a few of the features that are on here that you mentioned?
Sure. So this is our demo site that you're looking at here. You're on the home screen here. You can see that there's a post here by, who is that? Lieutenant Charles, and he's letting asking everyone to be on the lookout for a black Honda Accord.
This is fictional.
Yes, and
Just mention it.
this is fictional. This is our demo site. And so as an example, you can see there will be residents who thank him for his post. And you'll see that there'll be replies, and often these are thanks, or there may be questions, like, for example, could you give me some more information? If you'll scroll down, you also see that Nextdoor has a Halloween treat map, which you can find out who's trick-or-treating in your neighborhood or having a haunted house, and this works around the country at the moment.
Point out which is which.
So the candy corns are where you can get trick-or-treats, and the houses are where there are haunted houses. And if you'll scroll down just a little bit more, you also see, for example, that someone's having a moving sale, and further down, someone's looking for a place to live. So lots of everyday utilities for this. Okay, and then come back up to the top. You can also see a map here of where the neighbors are that live in your neighborhood that are on Nextdoor. Oh, I went back to the treatment, that's fine. And go ahead, click on neighbors. These are the neighbors that live in your neighborhood. So it's a great way to meet and connect with people that you may not have already met or had a conversation with. So every member, before they get access to their private Nextdoor website for their neighborhood, has to verify their home address. And there's a couple easy ways to do that. You can have a postcard sent to your home, or you can have it, for example, call your home phone and your cell phone. And if your home address are tied to those numbers, you'll be able to join your Nextdoor neighborhood.
I have a question, the chief or Jean, you guys are going in on this to help with the community combat crime, I'm sure. What do you tell those who may not have access to a smartphone, or like those who are they just don't have access, the elderly who may not use a device like this? How can they also be a part?
Again, as I said earlier, Nextdoor is just another tool, and it's a social media tool. If you're not engaged in social media, Nextdoor is not your way of engagement. But we have multiple ways that our sector lieutenants, who are going to be the primary distributors of information from the police department, engage with their communities. And they engage at every community meeting. There isn't a community meeting that goes on in this city that I don't have representation at. Things like Coffee with a Cop. Things like our monthly community walks. Those things continue. Nextdoor will not even be our primary means of engagement, because we would rather have face-to-face engagement. And so there are multiple opportunities across the spectrum of the way people communicate with each other for us to engage.
May I add one thing?
But again, as the mayor just reminded me, if people have immediate need for police service, 911 is that tool. It's the tool for everyone, and because it is surely constantly monitored every day, 24 hours a day.
I'd just like to add one thing. Like I said, we have 70% of people in our neighborhood that have adopted it. There are 30 that haven't, and most of those are elderly residents who don't have access to computers, or they're not savvy enough. But their neighbors who do will share with them, walk next door and share with them things that have happened. So there's that native kind of communication that comes out of it.
So 52 neighborhoods in Richmond are already using Nextdoor, and thank you. 52 neighborhoods in Richmond are already using Nextdoor, and each neighborhood has to have at least 10 members, and each neighborhood is about 750 households.
Chief, can you give an example? You and the mayor both started out talking about the recent crime. Can you give an example of how you think this program might help either solve those crimes or address some of the concerns in the community after the recent violence?
Surely. There are often precursors to crime. Those precursors are often the wrong people in the wrong neighborhoods, cars circulating through neighborhoods that are unusual to that neighborhood. That's not a Nextdoor opportunity. That's a 911 opportunity for someone to engage us and say, with regard to the violence, there's something going on untoward in my neighborhood. Nextdoor provides a methodology, again, not instantaneous. When you see a suspicious person in your neighborhood, I don't want you to post it on Nextdoor. You might want to post it later in the day to talk about those things with your neighborhood partners so they can be on the lookout for the same kind of car or person. But the immediate response is the 911, call the police, let us know what is happening response. But with regard to things like property crime, with regard to things, our lieutenants will be able to, our sector lieutenants will be able to say, just like we do with raids online, our crime reporting system, where every citizen in the city of Richmond who has access to a computer can find out where the crime is occurring in their neighborhood. Now we can talk about possible solutions. I can't post on raids, although I can, but it's a little more difficult. Post on raids online how to prevent this kind of crime. 5 cars were entered in this neighborhood this week, and none of them were locked. That should send a message to folks, and folks can talk about that and remind their neighbors to do something positive about that. So I think those are the kind of keys that Nextdoor provides to us. They don't provide immediate response to crime, response to suspicious person, notifications or alarms, but they do provide that long range, that community trend kind of interaction that should reduce crime.
How often will your sector lieutenants be checking it?
Probably daily, like they do their accounts now. I mean, I'm sure daily. Thank you.
Joe, did you want to talk about the alerts? Because there is a way to immediately, if you see something and you want to say something, after calling 911, but you want to alert other neighbors, there is that functionality where you can do that.
The urgent?
Yes. Yes.
So what Ames was just referring to is called our urgent alert feature. That allows neighbors to instantly notify the neighbors in their immediate neighborhood of an emergency or a crime that's going on. By using that feature, they can activate their neighbors to also make supporting calls to 911 or to whatever service is needed to address that crime or deal with whatever is happening in the neighborhood.
Thank you, gentlemen. We do have an opportunity where many of our sector lieutenants who will be carrying the mail, so to speak, on the Nextdoor communications are actually going down the hall to our computer lab, and they're going to continue and finalize their training. So I invite all the media to join us down the hall, and you can see the sector lieutenants as they get started on making sure that they're ready to go with the program. Thank you so much.
I sent our first notification out via Nextdoor a few minutes ago, right?
Yes, you did.
So if you're Nextdoor participants, you received a welcome from me a few minutes ago.
Mr. Lovely, can I just ask one more question, Chief, if that's okay?
Before we break.
All right.
Just last
Quick.
question. Chief, I guess I'm just wondering, because you mentioned the raids online, why bring something else? You mentioned tools. Why bring this new tool into your arsenal when there are some tweaks that need to be made even with the raids online? You know, that's not really kind of updated on a regular basis. At least it hasn't in the past few days when we're checking in the morning.
It's 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. every day.
We checked even this morning, and there was one car break-in that was.
There was a problem early this week
Okay.
with the system, and that's unfortunate, but it's rare. But that did occur, and there was a delay.
And we're talking about two different things. Raids online is I'm going to use every tool that's available to me. Every tool that's available to me. Every tool that's available to me. It doesn't matter from where it comes. Because with interaction, engagement is what we're about. And Raids Online is the ability for us to say to you, this is what's happening. Nextdoor is our opportunity to interact with you about that, what's happening. So I think there are two different sides of the same coin.
And we are cutting edge. We are right at the forefront of dealing with this. And there was a server issue, I know, with the Raids Online, and they worked to correct that. So, we're out front. All right. Thank you.
Have you ever needed to borrow a ladder, find someone to mow your lawn, or learn when local road repairs will wrap up? There are so many ways our neighbors can help us. But these days, most people don't know their neighbors or how best to contact them. It's difficult to ask for help and advice without being a bother. Nextdoor changes all that with free and private neighborhood websites that make it easy for neighbors to connect and talk about the issues that matter. It's an online place where you and your neighbors can ask questions, stay in the know, and exchange local help and advice. Here you can meet your neighbors, get recommendations for local services, and learn about neighborhood events. Whether you want to spread the word about a new park, find an owner for that bookcase in your garage, or be alerted of recent crimes in your area, Nextdoor makes it easy to keep up with everything going on in your neighborhood. All recommendations are organized and archived, so next time you need a trusted dentist or electrician, you can find a great one in seconds. Nextdoor is a secure website where all members must verify that they live in the neighborhood. You can be confident that your communications stay within a trusted environment designed just for you and your neighbors. Getting started is easy. With just a few clicks, you can get up and running with Nextdoor for your neighborhood. As your neighbors join the website, you build a stronger and safer neighborhood. When neighbors start talking, everyone benefits. To get a Nextdoor website for your neighborhood, go to nextdoor.com.